Hello, everybody, and welcome to the third episode of Databytes. In our last episode, we spoke about one of the interesting technologies in data visualization, that is Power BI. We had with us Arvind, who is the MD and CEO at Visvero, and we spoke about some of the interesting features of Power BI and what are the best practices around it. It was a great session, and we want to thank all our viewers who joined us. And we also want to thank all of you who have registered with us for the 1 hour free consultation from Visvero's expert consultants. Thank you so much on that. On the same note, we also saw a lot of requests asking to discuss specific topics related to Power BI, and most of you have asked if Arvind could discuss some of the topics. One of the topics that we found was asked more than others is how to use real-time data in Power BI, right? And we think it's quite it's gaining a lot of traction amongst our DMs. So we would request Arvind, if he could talk to us about it and share some lights on it. Yeah. Hey Arvind, good to have you again with us.
Hi Shashank, it's good to be here again and talking to your audience. Thank you everybody for joining us for this chat.
Well, you have been gaining a lot of attention. You're becoming quite popular with our audience because we have been specifically asked that please ask Arvind to join again on the next episode and talk to us about this particular topic. So viewers, here Arvind is back again on your request. So Arvind, what's happening is most of our viewers are asking this one question around how to use real-time data in Power BI. I think it's an important topic, and maybe you could get us started with what it actually is, for our viewers to understand it better.
Sure. So Shashank, just to kind of have a context around it, so real-time data started gaining traction when there is a lot of high volume data, high velocity data that needs to be analyzed. But the data is changing so frequently that really its purpose is to create some kind of a control. So to give you an example, for example, stock market data. That's a rapidly changing data that could be available for various applications. Data coming from IoT devices. Your social media page generates a lot of high volume and high velocity data. So we're looking at this data and saying this data is changing rapidly enough, and we need to use this for certain control type behavior for what we are doing. Power BI has got wonderful features and more coming with every new version, where you are now able to analyze this data in real time. I think this conversation could be broken into like smaller subsets with probably one technique for a particular type of data, and then we could discuss this in more detail in the subsequent chats, subsequent videos.
I think that would be a great idea. Maybe we could start with how many types of data there are, and maybe we can start by discussing just one of the types today in this episode.
Sure. So the real-time data, the way it comes into Power BI environment, or better still, the way it's available for Power BI analysis is either it's a part of Power BI ecosystem. So whether that's being pushed into Power BI and it's now available for analysis, or it could be just peripherally available, but not be a part of Power BI dataset. So like streaming content, there is also another dataset called PubNub data, which is just the sort of the third-party data availability service, but not really allowing you to make this data, or not really making this data a part of Power BI internal system. For now, it might be worthwhile for us to focus our energies on just discussing this push data set. What is this data? How do we make it available? And then how do we analyze it?
Perfect. I mean, that sounds like a great plan. Let's do it.
Oh, happy to. So push data is basically that when the data is available. So in this environment, when the data is available, the data is made available for Power BI applications, either by REST APIs or by updates to the database. And it's now a part of Power BI reporting infrastructure. So in this environment, Power BI, we're able to create reports, visualizations to support it, and then pin these reports or visualizations to the dashboard. Normally, they're not automatically refreshed unless the report is refreshed. But those are different techniques that we can do this. We can have this conversation in. For example, making the report a part of the live page does not automatically make it update ready. So once we are creating a report using this real time data or near real time data, we can use Q&A to essentially push these push these data points out into the user community. Normally, we use Power BI's REST APIs, native REST APIs, to be able to source the data and make them available for the user. So once the data is available to the users, you can create your standard dashboards, standard reports. You can create your standard reports and visualizations and pin these to your dashboards and make sure that this is getting refreshed as frequently as you would need these to be.
All right. Okay. And maybe you could discuss some of your how some of your clients are using this particular data. Maybe some of the implementation you have done at some of your client.
Yeah. So one of the examples that comes to mind is this large telco infrastructure company. So the company basically is in the business of maintaining the cell phone towers for all the major carriers across the country. And they have certain SLAs that they need to report to the users for. And their SLAs are mostly about the uptime and the dropped calls. And that's what they're responsible for to the carriers. So in their environment, they have nearly 2,000 cell phone towers that are sending data every 5 seconds to their database. So Power BI REST APIs in this case are actually reaching out to the source systems, fetching this data, and making this data available for analysis. This data is sort of constantly getting refreshed. The reports are getting created, and then they are getting posted on or getting available on the dashboards. Just one key consideration is there's a limit of about 1 million rows an hour that you can refresh. So that's pretty substantial amount of data, but depending on your application, it may not be too much either. So that's probably a good example of how one would use this real-time data.
Nice. And I think for our viewers, that would be a really interesting insight, or at least, the first type of data that gets used in real-time analytics in Power BI. I think, in our next session, we'll be talking more on this by talking about streaming data and what are the third-party sources that it comes from and what are the techniques in which this can be used. Stay tuned and watch this space as me and Arvind discuss further on this topic and help you guys understand this at the best. And also we would link the consultation free consultation in the comment below. For those of you who have not availed it yet, there's still time. You can register with us and Visvero consultants will be happy to help you out with your business solutions. Thank you so much, Arvind, for today's session. We will be together again to discuss more on this topic.
Thank you so much, Shashank. It's really good talking to you guys. And once we talk about the streaming data set and other data forms, it'll become very easy to understand why this is a powerful tool or powerful utility within the Power BI environment as well. I look forward to speaking with you again.
Yeah, I'm sure. Thank you so much. Have a great time, guys. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Shashank. Bye.